Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. Joining me in the studio is Dr. Monica Miller. She is Director of Citizens for Pro-Life Society, and she joins us. She's also a systematic theologian and a dear friend, and she's joining us to talk about her newest article, Paradigm Shifts and the End of Catholic Moral Doctrine, published on Crisis Magazine. Monica, so this is a good presentation and a well thought out presentation of some of the issues that have come out from these Synod on Synodality post-study groups. Can you share with us, for the sake of our listeners who are not entirely sure what's still going on with that process, what do we know right now?
Well, I'm going to say we know it's a mess. There's no way I was going to plow through every single report, but the one that has received a great deal of attention is what's called report number 9, and it has to do with ethics, morality, and so on. The thing that was most illuminating is that the argumentation of report number 9 is ultimately based on a quote unquote paradigm shift. They're fond of that jargon. That had occurred several years earlier with the new head of the John Paul II Institute for the Marriage and the Family, and I don't want to demote him, but his last name is Paglia. I don't know if he's a bishop. I think he's a Monsignor.
Archbishop, yeah.
Yeah, Archbishop. Okay, yes, Archbishop Vincenzo Paglia. Was appointed the new head of the Pontifical Academy for Life and the Grand Chancellor of the John Paul II Pontifical Theological Institute for Marriage and Family Sciences. Okay. And he retired in 2025. Now, what happened is that he did an interview with an Italian news outlet called Settimana News. And there's an actual link to his interview in English in my article, a hyperlink. And this was enormously revealing because he came out and said that basically we were throwing out natural law. But natural law is no longer the ultimate final designator of Catholic morality. And what is going to take its place, even though what does this even mean, is human experience, the experience of the believer, okay, within their setting, within their customs, within their mindset. So I basically say this is Catholic's quote unquote situation ethics.
Yes, exactly. Phenomenological morality, yeah.
Yeah. So I wrote my article on let's talk about natural law because I have taught Catholic moral theology for decades, and one of the things that I certainly I say to my students is that natural law is the backbone of Catholic moral theology and Catholic moral doctrine. This is not something you can dismiss. You can't dismiss it any more than you can dismiss nature itself, but that's where the rubber is meeting the road. Nature is out. The essence of what it means to be human, that particular Catholic anthropology of what it means to be human is out. Teleological ethics, what is the end of what does it mean to be human, out, and human experience in. And this is the very most troubling thing that has happened here, and it needs to be reversed. That's all I can say.
Everyone listening right now has a few core questions, chief among which is, what is the end goal, or at least they love the word paradigm, right? So let's use paradigm. What's the paradigm of these individuals?
The end goal is to normalize and to affirm and to ultimately approve
and rewrite
that certain sexual behaviors that are objectively sinful can somehow be reconciled with the practice of the Catholic faith. So we're not going to be looking at what they derisively describe as a fixed external, which it's not external, okay, it's internal as it possibly could be, ahistorical, legalistic, whatever bad word they want to put on it. We can't look to those objective norms that come from nature, because if we do, then that's for them the problem. Okay. My article does a pretty exhaustive exposition of natural law thinking according to Thomas Aquinas, because he did a lot of thinking, okay, in his treatise on law in the Summa. And, natural law, when all is said and done, going back even to St. Paul in chapters 1 and 2 of his letter to the Romans, is there is an objective standard of morality irrespective of religion, irrespective of what country you live in, irrespective of what is your culture, that is written in the human person. And in order for us to protect our dignity, those human ends have to be honored. So when it comes to the right to life, when it comes to a person's obligation to keep themselves healthy, when it comes to the protection of life, when it comes to what does it mean to be sexual, the human person has specific ends that are given by God in the Constitution of what it means to be human. And so homosexuality, premarital sexual intimacy, abortion, adultery. I mean, this is so basic. I mean, we're talking about the 7 last commands of the Decalogue here, right? Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not bear false witness. Like those are natural law teachings that are already there in the 10 Commandments. And how interesting that St. Paul, in his letter to the Romans, he is, how shall I put this, articulating an ethic for a Greco-Roman audience, okay, that didn't have the benefit of the divine law, as did the Jews, but they did have a law. They had a law given by God that God's own nature, his mysteries, are revealed through the visible things that he has made. And as a matter of fact, the document Dei Verbum, the Constitution on a Divine Revelation from Vatican II, the first step in the revelation of God is not the 10 Commandments, is not the Mosaic Law, it's not Scripture, it's creation. Creation speaks the truth about God, so pay attention to it. It tells you something about the divine wisdom that God has poured into the world that he has made. And so you have to look to those concrete manifestations that come through our senses. And you will discover what's the natural law formula? The ought is found in the is. Okay. Well, why digress on this very important point? Because this is what's being dismissed by this report number 9. And it's actually very scandalous.
It is.
It's very scandalous.
There's no universe within which it is not. And the testimonies of the 2
homosexuals,
practicing, claiming to be married, and yet claiming to be practicing Catholic.
Right, and if I can, I'm trying to find the quotation, but I could probably easily paraphrase it.
Well, let's pause right there. I'm talking with Dr. Monica Miller, and she and I are talking about an attempt to skew the moral practice of the church, the moral teaching of the church, away from this fundamental objective reality that is natural law, which is nothing more than the order of ethics that God has ingrained upon creation itself, that has come from the divine mind, that we can perceive by means of a rightful exercise of our intellect in living in and observing nature. We're continuing on the other side of the break. Stay tuned. I'm Marcus Peter. Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Bean. I'm talking with Dr. Monica Miller, systematic theologian, director of Citizens for a Pro-Life Society. We are talking about Catholic morality as being grounded in objective natural law. Monica, just to recap a core point that we were making in the last segment that you made very clear, whether we like it or not, God has inscribed the laws of nature on creation itself. Catholic morality is an overflow of divine revelation on natural law.
Yes.
Which means no amount of councils, synods on synodality is ever going to change one iota of the reality of the objective moral
Well,
truth.
not if you want to undo the world itself. Okay? But this quotation from the homosexual that they quote here, it's in the section of the document that's headlined "A Paradigm Shift that is Faithful to the Journey of the Christian Experience." Well, what does that even mean? Whose experience? But what does it mean? Okay, what Christian experience? The point being that lived experience is at least equal to, if not even more, ecclesially and spiritually foundational for Catholic morality than a church abstractly proclaiming and deductively applying her moral doctrines. This is why report number 9 will climax with the lived experience, quote unquote, of two homosexuals. According to one who discovered, based on his experience, that sin at its root does not consist in the same-sex couple relationship, but in a lack of faith in a God who desires our fulfillment. Oh my gosh. All right, wait, say no more, okay? Desires our fulfillment as a gay couple.
Right, I was going to... Okay, so then you've got a rewriting of the definition of fulfillment, even by Christian standards.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think I state somewhere in my article that paradigm shifts aren't necessarily a bad thing, okay? Jesus, I think you could argue his preaching is full of them, okay? Yeah. And but a Christian paradigm shift ought to call us to a greater love and a greater sacrifice, not a weakening or a dilution of what it means to be Catholic. And so there it is. What example can I give right off the top of my head? I mean, you had Jesus's disciples arguing, who's going to be the greatest, reserve the places, the high places for us, right? James and John, one seated at your left and one seated at your right in your kingdom, right? And Jesus has to call, probably rolling his eyes, calling his apostles together.
Probably wanting to slap them upside the head because they still didn't get it.
They still didn't get it. He said, talking about in the pagan world, right? The great ones make sure that their authority is felt. Mm-hmm. In other words, impose it. It cannot be that way with you. Well, there's your paradigm shift. It cannot be that way with you. Mm. Anyone who wishes to be great must serve the rest, must serve all of the others, become the servant of the rest, right? To take the lowest place. So Jesus turns everything upside down. So there we have, when you come right down to it, even the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount, is paradigm shifts all over the place. Okay, so there's that. But this paradigm shift is dishonest.
Yes.
It's a dishonesty. It's a counterfeit. Yeah. And in some ways, you could even say this whole synodal, journey that we've been dragged through is a kind of a counterfeit Catholicism. It's not the real deal, and it really needs to be reversed.
Can you also comment on how these quote unquote lived experience testimonies are couched in the language of seeming charity and compassion?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of that, and maybe we could even go back to God rest his soul, Pope Francis, because I think I wrote an article it was either Catholic World Report or Crisis Magazine on understanding the key to the Francis pontificate, and the key was his emphasis on mercy. And when almost said and done, mercy trumped doctrine. Doctrines are fixed. Doctrines are unfeeling. Doctrines are imposed. Doctrines are difficult. So we have a God of mercy. So the downplaying, shall we say, if I could use that word, is probably a clumsy word to use, but of insisting on the doctrines was somehow an obstacle to mercy. And so that bleeds into what we're seeing here, certainly in Synodal Report number 9.
How do you square that? And I agree with you, and therefore herein lies the issue, that even that phraseology presents a problem when you think about mercy as a doctrine, which means that it is to be squared in light of the fact that our God cannot contradict himself.
Oh, you're absolutely. And, this whole thing about accompaniment and
the unending listening.
Well, what befuddles me as a theologian and as a practicing Catholic who really, really loves the church, it's like here we are into the Catholic faith. The Catholic Church has been around now for over 2,000 years. I think we've got it. Okay. Now there's development of doctrine, and that's all legitimate. But it's almost acting like we have to reinvent the faith after 2,000 plus years. But going back to natural law, why is this really so important? Because natural law is the foundation upon which the Catholic Church can have conversation and common ground with people who are not Catholic. This is the backbone not only for Catholic moral doctrine, but it's the backbone for international law.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so where do rights come from? How do we judge whether a war is just or unjust? How do we judge whether penalties for crimes are just or unjust? It's all what do people have a right to in terms of food and shelter and water and work and private property? It's just, so we have to speak this language. We have to hold on to it if we're going to be able to have conversation with other nations in terms of what it means to be human and protecting human rights. So it's not just, it's all about, we want to make homosexual people or gays feel welcomed. Well, we do. Of course we do, right? But that doesn't mean that we dismiss the truth for ourselves or for them.
And in doing so, this is the one thing that report number 9 simply doesn't bother highlighting, that the path of love, which is the difficult path, the path of telling them the truth, is actually the only thing that's going to be good for them.
In the end, yes, that's right. Look, everyone is sexually broken. Okay, it's not as if the LGBTQ community has a private license on this. Everyone.
They don't corner the market on intrinsic disorders. Yeah.
So we all are called to struggle with our brokenness, and I don't want the church to bend its rules for me, or to make it easy for me. We are called to be holy, and carrying crosses is hard. It's difficult. So we need to accompany people to help them carry those crosses. That's the truth, and that's what the church is supposed to be doing, and according to this beautiful thing called natural law.
And you see, going back to, therefore, this beautiful thing called natural law, we can therefore really ask ourselves, what does it mean to be a quote-unquote fulfilled human being? Because this report utilizes that term in the lived experience. But the truth is, human fulfillment is found in human flourishing, which can only happen when you're living in natural law.
Exactly. And the other thing that and it's in my article that I point out, if you dismiss, if you disown, if you deny natural law, you are ultimately denying God. Because God has imprinted his divine self on the world that he has made. So the world comes to us, this is already there in Genesis chapter 1. The world comes to us with intentionality. We are no longer in the world of my own opinion, what I think it is, what I want it to be. It has an order, it has a beauty, and it has a structure that's given by God, that the human mind and our rational thought is given to us to discover, and then to embrace, and then to protect, and to honor, and to use this world for authentic human ends. which is in the exposition of natural law that we find in Thomas Aquinas, the dictate of natural law is do good and avoid evil.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, for him, goods are synonymous with ends.
Mm-hmm.
What is the end of our sexuality? What is the end of procreation? What is the end of marital conjugal relations? You look to the ends, and then you discover what it means to be human. Yeah. So when he says do good, he means honor the ends mm-hmm. of what it means to be. And evil is the opposite. Is the attack. And there's a fantastic, famous quote that a lot of people like to quote, including Martin Luther King. Okay, an unjust law is no law at all. It's violence. And why is it violence? Because an unjust law undoes the good creation of God. Mm-hmm. And he even says when we dishonor natural law, we hurt God Himself. So that's why report number 9 is just got to go.
There's no way around it. Anyone who sits down with the document cover to cover, it's a scandalous document. And it's scandalizing for the precise reason that it attacks natural law, which is the basis of Catholic perennial moral teaching. And that's never going to change.
Well, I hope you're going to post this.
Yes.
And I hope people will copy and paste it and send it out and get people to read it.
Well, I certainly hope so. And this is going to be included in the description of today's program. And I've been talking with Dr. Monica Miller. She authored an article, Paradigm Shifts and the End of Catholic Moral Doctrine, on Crisis Magazine. Stay tuned for the next hour. I'm Marcus Peter.